Hello and welcome to Track versus Track. I'm Jacob. I'm joined by my co-host with co-most, Matt, and we have a special guest, the Vinyl Policeman. Matt, introduce our guest.
This is Mike, the Vinyl Policeman, and he is making waves in the VC, and we thought it would be a good idea to attach ourselves to him because he's a heavy hitter, and we're sub 100 subscribers right now. No, Mike has been a guy that I have.
There are heavier hitters, yeah.
I've been admiring his work the past year, ever since we started this channel, and he's probably my favorite member of the VC, of the people that I watch regularly. And
oh well,
just
thanks,
so insightful. And then we got kind of talking about Kinks, and of course, he's like the Kinks guru of the world. And before I, say something that's incorrect, I'll let Mike kind of introduce himself and his channel.
Yeah. No, thanks, man. Really appreciate that. And yes, thank you, Jacob and Matt, for inviting me and being very honoured to be the first guest on your terrific Track to Track channel, which I really enjoy. I play in a Kinks tribute band, so I'm very immersed in the Kinks, and been playing in the band there for a while now. And so I've got all the studio albums of the Kinks, and I've got lots and lots, and I think they're an absolutely terrific band. So to take part in something like this is really good fun. Looking forward to it.
It's going to be painful in some cases, I'm sure. As you mentioned, you're our first guest for one of these matchups where we pit an album against each other. And we chose two arena rock era, Arista era Kinks albums.
Yeah.
Low Budget, which is a personal favorite of mine. And then Misfits. You guys will be much more familiar with the chronology and the history of. We all have our props, aren't we? Special.
Yeah.
We're collectors.
We're proper. We're proper.
Oh,
Matt, well done.
Yeah, Matt has the CDs too. And what we do is we go track by track, and my albums don't have the track listings on the back, so I'm probably just gonna Google it. But I know what, Matt, do you want to do, so we'll alternate a little bit on who goes first, but I know what is track one on Low Budget, because I remember being, thinking I was a Kinks fan, having listened to Lola and the Power Men or whatever, as a high school kid, putting this on, probably a CD, and hearing this first track and being like, what the heck, is this Kiss? Did I get the wrong record? What is going on? The track one on Low Budget is Attitude, which is a favorite of mine. But what is track one on Misfits? What is it facing off against?
All right, and Mike, the Vinyl Policeman, set us straight here, because the UK pressing differs from the US pressing. So this CD actually is the UK pressing order. So.
Okay.
And I think that's pretty much become canonized at this point. The opening track of Misfits is the title track, Misfits. And my background with these albums don't go very far back. My Kinks exposure was obviously the British Invasion hits. But when I first really started to sink my teeth into the Kinks albums, it was their mid-late 60s, early 70s, pre-RCA even. So, we're talking Village Green Preservation Society, Arthur, something else, some of those, classic albums. So these two albums are ones that I really haven't actually listened to that many times prior to doing this. But, that's the opening track on Misfits.
Yeah.
So it's Attitude versus Misfits. Our guest, do you have a pick first off?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, actually, because, I mean, the whole Arista years, you've got 6 albums in those Arista years. And for me, an absolutely key guy in Kinks history is a guy called Clive Davis, who was the head honcho at Arista. And when he listened to, I mean, when the Kinks went through their theatrical phase, which was an absolute disaster commercially, the last one they produced, which was for us at the time, was Schoolboys in Disgrace, and it was a bit of a rocker. And I think Clive Davis they were being dumped, Clive Davis thought, no, we could really resurrect the Kinks, but he hated all the theatrical stuff. So he wanted to go very much into the bigger rock, get back to 3-4 minute individual songs, not all this theatrical nonsense as far as he was concerned. And I think, just with these first 2 tracks, you're there straight away, because low budget. I mean, when you look at Attitude, that's, as you say, that's a real hard hitting rock punk kind of song. It's a kind of semi autobiographical for Ray Davis himself, to get the right attitude to get into the 80s and everything. And then you pitch that up against the track Misfits, which I think is an absolutely stunning track, actually. I think it's a fantastic opener, really well produced, well played, fantastic. So both great tracks, in my opinion. I mean, Attitude, a great opener for an album, a real arena rock song, but for actual quality of a song, I think Misfits takes it for me.
Ooh.
I think it's
Matt, you agree?
Yeah.
Mike, you said everything I would say. Yeah. As much as I like Attitude, it's probably one of my favorite tracks off of Low Budget. It just, to me, the epicness of Misfits, I mean, it's probably my favorite track off of Misfits, top 3 for sure. To me, it gives off like these night moves vibes, like Bob Seger's Night Moves. It has kind of the dynamic contrast of Night Moves, and I love that song too. But yeah, just fantastic song. I'm giving it to Misfits.
I will be the outlier. I'm going to give it to Attitude, just because I love how he kind of tears his throat apart when he sings the chorus. Track 2 on Low Budget, I'll just keep doing Low Budget, is Catch Me Now, I'm Falling, which gets bonus points for me for name dropping Captain America before that was cool. Seemingly a political album for the most part. It seems Low Budget's hinting at stuff, and this would be the most political of the songs. What is track 2 on Misfits, Matt?
Hay Fever, which I have right now, because it's it's been quite dry, and I live in a very rural area. Well, so do you, Jacob. And you're from Portsmouth, is that right, Mike?
Portsmouth, right on the south coast of England, facing France. Yeah.
So how are the allergens right now?
They're not too bad. They've been bad, but they're not too bad now. Yeah. We're raining now.
I like Hay Fever as a song because it's so literal. And usually songs with fever are about like cat scratch fever, and it's really just a metaphor for being horny or whatever. This is like I can't do anything because I'm stuffed up. It's a fun song. I'll have to think about it though. Matt, how about you go first?
Yeah, I'll kick this one off. Really like Hay Fever. It's got the unfortunate predicament having to go up against Catch Me Now, I'm Falling, which, I think is a classic Kinks song. And it's a song that I became aware of probably actually before even Low Budget, but because of this guy right here.
Yeah, great album.
Yeah. A lot of these songs off of Low Budget.
Loads.
Misfits, there's just I think 4 or 5 songs off of Low Budget, about half the album. So I got to give it to Catch Me Now, I'm Falling. But I do think Hay Fever is a fun kind of upbeat track, but it's really not close. I have to give it to Low Budget.
Agree?
I completely agree. Hay Fever for me, I haven't got the same love as you two guys for it. It's album filler for me, and I'm really surprised it's as high as number 2 on the album. Maybe the worst track on the album for me. It doesn't do enough for me. Catch Me Now, I'm Falling. Once I can get past the complete Jumping Jack Flash guitar riff, how on earth you're in the studio, you're writing the song, and a riff repeats so many times in the song, which is a classic 60s Rolling Stones song, and it still gets through the thing. But in saying that, I still think it's a great song, Catch Me Now, I'm Falling. I find it, the soloing in it and everything is, I really like Dave Davis as a guitarist, but a little bit soulless. I don't find it too warm. So I think it could be produced better, Catch Me Now, I'm Falling. But Hay Fever just doesn't do it for me. It's just kind of, it feels a bit too lightweight. Just one interesting thing there actually is that during the time of Misfits, the band were in total disarray. And the only 2 members that survived the end of the sessions were Ray and Dave. Everybody else had left the band. I mean, on the whole of Misfits, you've got 4 different bass players, you've got 3 different drummers. Where Low Budget, you've got a band, you've got the touring band on that one. One of the bits of trivia I read about Hay Fever, which, as I say, doesn't even particularly happen for me. There's over 100 takes of Hay Fever, and it took 6 months to get the track right. So it just shows you where
That's a lot of work for a
it's a lot of work.
track.
But for Misfits to come out such a coherent, warm album in such a traumatic period of turmoil, it's pretty amazing, actually, kind of thing. So for me on that one, it's Catch Me Now and Falling.
And I'll make it 3 for Low Budget there. Matt, what's track 3 on Misfits? Let's alternate a little bit.
All right, so this is where it changes. The U.S. version has Live Life, but the U.K. version, and this is a U.K. band, so we got to go with what the U.K. version is, has Black Messiah. What about Low Budget there, Jacob?
Oh, Low Budget is Pressure, kind of a punky tune.
Pressure, I've got pressure, yeah.
And I right away, I'm just going to say I'm going to go with Pressure. Black Messiah is a cool tune. I don't know how I feel about his reggae affectation. And I won't touch, because I'm really not sure what the Davies' politics are. And Pressure's a cool punk song. So my leanings, I'm 3 for 3 on Low Budget at this point. Mike.
Pressure, Chuck Berry, opening riff, it's pure Chuck Berry for me, which is a good thing, which I love, and I think it's a great track. It's a real, pushing track. It's a great live track. Black Messiah, I think's a bit special. I think that's a really, I think there's something about it which makes it a really good track. And when you talk about politics, I think there's some songs we're going to come up to in a minute where you've got some words which were used in 1978, 79, which appropriate.
Those.
Black Messiah. I mean, I think with that one, where Ray Davies skirts on the whole kind of racist type thing and the rest of it, I don't think he is for a second. In fact, I know he isn't for a second, kind of thing. And even when you look at words from it, where everybody's got the right to speak their mind, everybody's got to live with a little less hate. So the whole song is meant to be, just live life, we're all together, kind of thing. But he does it in this Ray Davies edgy, quirky way. But I love the chorus in that. I think it's got a real groove.
I like the song. I just question the reggae-ness of it, and
No, and I'm not.
But it's so catchy as heck.
It's catchy.
I do like the song.
Pressure, Chuck Berry-esque Pressure, fantastic track, brilliant live track. But Black Messiah, just that edges it for me.
All right, Matthew.
Yeah, Mike, you and I are on the same page. Black Messiah is one of my favorite tracks. And Jacob, I totally understand what you're saying. He comes off a bit like caricature-ish, really over-enunciating some of the Jamaican reggae dialect. I love that horn breakdown in the middle, though. And the horn breakdown does not sound like ska or reggae. To me, it actually sounds like Dixieland, like the kind of horns you hear on some of the tracks on Muswell Hillbillies. And I absolutely love when the Kinks use horns, like in the Preservation acts and stuff like that. So on an instrumental level, if I just take away some of the faux reggae accent, I just love the song. I think it holds its own on a musical level too. And I mean, Pressure's okay. It's got good energy to it. It's short and it doesn't overstay its welcome. But to me, this is no contest. Black Messiah just mops the floor with it. I love that song.
Track 4 on Low Budget is called National Health. Matt, why don't you kick us off with this pairing when you tell us what Misfits 4 is?
All right. A Rock and Roll Fantasy is track 4 on
Misfits. Lead off single.
Yes. And this is one that this is a song that I've probably been aware of the longest because I had the Come Dancing Greatest Hits album, probably sometime in the late 90s. I got that. I'd be somewhere behind me there. And I used to really like A Rock and Roll Fantasy. It's ear candy. It's super, super catchy. But for me, now that I'm listening to it with a critical ear, it lacks some energy and it's too stinking long. I mean, It clocks in at over 5 minutes, and it's kind of the same thing over and over again. So if it was going up against even like a middle of the road song here, I think I would actually pick a middle of the road song out here. But National Health, I like this version. This version of National Health, I really like. But the production on this is weird. There's some weird percussiveness going on. It's kind of like trying to channel some new wave things. And so for that, I'm going to give it to a Rock and Roll Fantasy, but it's a song that's it's losing some love for me the more I listen to it.
Mike, are you going to stay lockstep with Matt?
I am. National Health. One of your earlier videos, I can't remember which one actually, Jacob, but you made the comment that you didn't want to always compare songs with other bands' songs and various things like that. Yeah. But it's difficult not to. And National Health for me, I can hear Shattered on Some Girls, Rolling Stones. There's just a riff in there. Every time I hear it, I think of Shattered, which is a great song. I think National Health's got a really good groove though, and the OOOs, la la la's, it's really nice and catchy. But I think Rock and Roll Fantasy is a pretty good track. I do enjoy that track. I think it's got a lot about it. Overly long, yeah. I agree. I think it is, but I think there's just more to the song for me, and I think it was at a time where again the band were all kind of breaking up. Ray thought Dave was about to leave, so in the song you've got things which is encouraging Dave to stay in the band and all the rest of it. So it's got some teeth in it. So for me, Rock and Roll Fantasy.
This is going to be the first one I go with for Misfits because I don't know if I was familiar with the song. The title certainly sounds familiar. And I know I've listened to the record before, but this was the first time I really did a deep dive on it. And I found it to be very charming. And I'm a guy who doesn't like rock songs about rock and roll. No. This one's a little different. Yeah. So I'll give it to Misfits.
And Rock and Roll Fantasy got to number 30 in the US Billboard as well as a single. So it did pretty well in the charts.
Mike, does that end side one for Misfits?
No.
Rock
okay. Misfits ends with In a Foreign Land.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then the last track is obviously Superman on Low Budget.
Yep. The disco-ish track, Wish I Could Fly Like Superman on Low Budget. I think that song is a hoot. Wish I Could Fly Like Superman. It was also a single, right?
Oh, yeah.
I've seen the 45.
Yeah.
I haven't picked it up, but I want to.
Yeah, got to number 41 in the US, that one.
Oh, okay. Not as big of a hit. Yeah. But versus, you said...
In a Foreign Land.
Oh, In a Foreign Land.
Yeah.
Probably my turn to go first, and I'm going to go with Wish I Could Fly Like Superman. I feel bad talking about this in front of someone actually from England, but it feels like he does like an affectation. He's trying to change his accent for that song and maybe a couple of the others. Is that something he does often?
All the time.
Oh.
All the time.
We talk about Paul McCartney doing it in Beatles albums all the time, but
no, Ray Davies does it. Yeah, you mentioned it. One of you guys mentioned it on Black Messiah, where he puts on this thing. Yeah. He does it in Ape Man, where he puts on. He's definitely slides into these different accents, and he definitely goes American in quite a few tracks, I think. Yeah. Or he tries to.
So I go with Superman, Matt.
Yeah, I go Superman as well. I like In a Foreign Land, and I think people do consider that a pretty decent song. Generally I don't go for the disco tinged tunes, but going back to Some Girls, I mean, Miss You was around the same time, and that's just what bands were doing. They had that constant drum beat that goes throughout. It's not the only song on this album. There's another one for sure that does that too, which I also like. But it's just catchy, man. In a Foreign Land, I listened to that one a few times today because I kept thinking, like, am I missing something here? It's like, no, it's just a good song. It's a good song that doesn't really have anything special about it. Just solid all the way through. But yep, I'm going with Low Budget.
I mean, In a Foreign Land was left over from the Sleepwalker sessions. So John Dalton was on bass on that one, because it was recorded. So it was recorded during that time. But now, I think In a Foreign Land's a great track. I mean, it's Ray Davies was a tax exile at the time. He's living in New York, so that's what it's all about, kind of thing. But Wish I Could Fly Like Superman is just the best fun in the world. I think it's such a great track. And I'm not a fan of disco, but I can completely get over that with Superman because it is such great. And if you look at some of the live versions of the Kinks doing concert of Superman, they're just immense rock songs. It's absolutely brilliant, but great fun, so much in it. So I would definitely go for Superman. That's one of my favorite tracks on the album.
Matt, what's the next track on Misfits?
All right. So this must be start to side 2. Permanent Wave.
If we're there, maybe I should do a quick score check.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
For me, I've given 1 to Misfits and 4 to Low Budget, and you two are in sync. 2 for Low Budget and 3 for Misfits, which I thought this was going to be a walk in the park. I thought this was going to just devastate Misfits, but that's not what it's about, really. It just gives us a structure to talk about these albums. Side B, what is it for Misfits?
Permanent Waves, kind of like what you have going right there with your hairdo there, Jacob. I like.
Yeah. What happens when you condition? Title track here, Low Budget. Kind of a bluesy track. Let's have Mike start us off.
Okay, I mean, 2 great songs, in my opinion, to start off the second side. And it's obviously really important, obviously, to start a second side with a great track. Permanent Waves, I kind of get almost a T-Rexy kind of feel with that one. But I think it's a really excellent track. But Low Budget for me is a brilliant track. I think, again, same as Superman, where you've got humor, but I think Dave Davis's riff and his guitar playing in it is absolutely tremendous. I played this one in the tribute band, and it's such a popular track as well. It's such a fun track. So Low Budget is, for me, is the whole Low Budget album, where it's meant to be, arena rock. For me, that's just it. That's perfect for it. So for me, it's Permanent Waves, great song, but big Low Budget for me at all.
Yeah, I also like Permanent Waves, but when I think about the album, it's when I think about Low Budget. The title track, obviously maybe because it's the title track, but thematically it's in line with Gallon of ones we'll get to in a little bit. I have to go with the title track here. Low Budget. Matthew?
Yeah, Low Budget as well. I like Permanent Waves. Spot on, Mike, with the Bolin rip-off thing. It totally, even that distortion, that fuzz on I think it's actually on a synthesizer though, but the guitar riff has that get it on, bang a gong sound.
It's great.
It is. It's not so much as the rip-off like Catch Me Now I'm Falling. I mean, that is total Rolling Stone Jumping Jack Flash rip-off. So it's more of a tip of the cap, I guess, to T-Rex. But yeah, good song. But the title track off of Low Budget. Isn't that funny that Low Budget and Misfits, the 2 title tracks, neither were singles either. They were B-sides.
That's right. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
So next on Low Budget is In a Space, which I call the Jesus Christ Superstar song. It kind of has a Jesus Christ Superstar rhythm to it when they're in a space, in a space.
Superstar.
And I didn't know about their whole theatrical period until I watched a video of Mike's actually, and I was like, I had never seen those records in the store, so I've not chosen to listen to them. What is it against in Misfits?
It's going up against Live Life.
Yeah.
Oh.
So in America, it would have been Black Messiah, but this is where they switch places.
And Live Life was the second single of the album.
It's an easy Live Life for me. I think that's a great song. I can make fun of In a Space, but I really couldn't talk about how I like it. Live Life is a lyric. I know Matt's not a lyric guy. I don't know if you're a lyric guy, Mike, but lyrically it's kind of like just forget about all the troubles and enjoy yourself, and that's a good message, but take all that away and it's still just a rockin' fun song. So easy choice for me. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, mark me Misfits. Yep, Live Life. And they're actually on this CD version is a US single edit. It's a minute shorter, and I much prefer it because on the album track, Dave has a ripping solo. It's probably my favorite Dave solo on Misfits, but it recapitulates at the end unnecessarily. So he solos, then they come back in with the refrain, and then he kind of does like a half-baked solo at the end. It's like so unnecessary. That single mix is tight though, but I love this song. Love the energy.
Mike.
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's funny actually, because with low budget, I think with the whole Arista period, the arena rock period, I think kind of they're a little bit in danger of getting away from what made them kinky, what made the Kinks. Those kind of real more, I don't know, just those really kind of Englishy, quirky little kind of stuff. I think Inner Space is the first track on the album, which kind of goes back to more roots of the Kinks kind of thing. And I like the actual phrasing, the chorus, you know, Inner Space, the way they do that and everything. But that big build near the end, which goes on and on and on and on. And where I want the chorus to come back in, it goes on and on and on, and it just goes on and on. And that kind of loses a bit for me. But yeah, Live Life, that would be my choice. Big rocker, fantastic it does. Completely agree, Matt. Dave Davis' guitar on it is fantastic, really good. Yeah, Live Life for me.
Kind of the slower song on Low Budget, and one I think reminds me of the older, folkier Kinks. It's called Little Bit of Emotion. Takes me back to those like 60s,
yeah, exactly,
like story songs that they used to write. What is on Misfits at this point in the record?
So this is a perfect track versus track because it's also the slowest song up to this point. It's Out of the Wardrobe, which, speaking of kinky, woo, kinky. Yeah, kind of the comedy song at the same time. Yeah, Chick Named Dick, right?
Yeah.
Latter Day Lola.
Yeah, it's
right.
basically a repeat of the Lola.
Yeah.
I mean, subject matter anyway.
Yeah.
I'm giving this a little bit of emotion because I don't want to touch Out of the Wardrobe with a 10-foot pole. I think it's a funny song, but it hasn't aged as well as they say here. Matt is giving nods like he might disagree. He might go with Out of the Wardrobe.
Yeah, man, I totally disagree with you here. Here's the reason. I'd like a little bit of emotion, but I think it's a poor man's version of Misfits. It sounds like the title track, but it's like the second take of it. It has a very similar. If you play them back to back, because I kept thinking like, a little bit of emotion sounds like something. Oh yeah, it sounds like the song on this album that opens the album, which is much better. Whereas Out of the Wardrobe, it's witty. Yes, there are some lyrics in there that are not so vogue in today's day and age. But man, it's a fun song. It's beautifully sung. I mean, I'm burnt out on Lola, so this is like, oh, I like songs about cross-dressers again by the Kinks. This is like.
But which album came first, Low Budget or Misfits?
Oh,
Misfits.
Oh, okay. So
but this is like
a little bit of
8 years
emotion's kind of a repeat. I got you.
Misfits 78, Low Budget 79.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
pretty close to repeating. A little too soon to repeat yourself. Mike, where are you going to weigh in?
Yeah, I mean, completely agree with what you started off saying there, Jacob, that a little bit of emotion, it's 60s Kinks. And the Inner Space and Little Bit of Emotion, for me, are back to original Kinks completely. And for me, Little Bit of Emotion, it's kind of the whole of Low Budget, as much as I really like it as an album, and I think as a live tracks, fantastic. I think Little Bit of Emotion gives a bit of the soul back to Low Budget. It's a warmer, souler track. But in saying that, Out of the Wardrobe is just a brilliant track. I absolutely love Out of the Wardrobe. And it's just Ray Davies at his best, I think. It's just such a clever song. When he puts on his dress, he feels like a princess. And I think the whole thing with it
is.
It's just, what's it? All their friends are finally coming round to the way of thinking. She wears the trousers and smokes a pipe. He washes up and she helps wipe. It's classic Ray Davies. But for me, there's kind of probably one word in there, which, if you take the word out, maybe another one as well. But if you were to just get those words out, it is a very acceptable Lola
Yeah.
and it's a brilliant track. And also, again, I think with Ray Davies, where he touches on these subjects on the edge, I think, again, with Out of the Wardrobe, it's kind of a bit of he means it as a celebration of this guy's now honest with himself, and he's told his wife, and she's okay with it, and they've told their friends, and they're okay with it. So, it's good celebration of being honest with yourself, kind of thing. So I don't think Ray Davies sees it as anything offensive or remotely. Again, if you just take out one or two words, it's a completely acceptable track now. But I just think it's brilliant fun. I think it's Ray Davies quirkiness at its best, and I love that track.
So if you have to pick one,
Out of the Wardrobe.
Out
of the Wardrobe.
I thought you were finally going to switch with.
No. Out of the Wardrobe.
That's my boy, Mike. That's my boy.
You guys, emotion, good track, but Out of the Wardrobe is just a brilliant track.
Sure. Next track on Low Budget is A Gallon of Gas, which is a funny track as well, talking about the humor of the Davies. Usually I ding a song when it starts with because I'm like, oh, that's the laziest blues riff in the world. But they quickly transition from that and make something else from it. What's it against in Misfits?
It's the Dave track, the only Dave pen track or sung track, excuse me. I think Ray wrote it. It's the only Dave sung track, lead vocal.
Oh, I think Dave wrote it.
Oh, did he write it? Okay.
Yeah, Dave wrote it. Yeah.
It's the back-to-back ballad. If you consider Out of the Wardrobe a ballad, I mean, it's a slower tempo song. Then this is the real ballad of the album. Trust your heart, Jacob. Trust your heart. What do you pick, Jacob?
Easy Low Budget for me. Just
even with the George Thorogood ripoff, even bad to the bone. Yeah, I love it too. I don't have much to say about this one, so I'll just piggyback and let Mike talk a little bit more in detail. I'm going to go Gallon of Gas too, because Trust Your Heart's my least favorite song, I would say, off of both of these. I do like how he's trying to be Paul McCartney. He's doing some very McCartney-esque vocals on this, but it's the same thing over and over. For like the last 3 minutes of the song, he's trying to build the intensity of the song, and it never quite gets there. It never quite gets to these epic proportions, but the vocal is very good, and it's nice to hear a different voice other than Ray's. And Dave is a great singer. I think he's a very criminally underrated singer. I mean, known for, his guitar god stature, but great singer too. Great, high harmonies in all these songs. But yeah, the song is just kind of weak. I don't know. It's trying to overachieve, but it never quite reaches there. Gallon of Gas is just, once again, fun rockin' Kinks. So
yeah. Apart from the outro on Trust Your Heart, I'm not keen on the track. I mean, the outro, truly, truly trust your heart, when he goes into all that, I think that's got something about it, and I think that sounds really good. But I think on the album, when you kind of compare the quality of the songwriting there, and Dave Davies has written some brilliant songs over the years, kind of thing. But I think when you compare Dave Davies's songwriting with kind of, a master songwriter on Misfits and all that kind of thing, it doesn't stand up. That's probably my second least favorite track after Hay Fever, kind of thing, on the album. Gallon of Gas, yeah, I mean, blues in G. If pick up your guitar, play along with it. G pentatonic, great fun. They used to play it loads live in concert, and it was brilliant. So Gallon of Gas for me.
All right. Misfits. Let's go with Misfits next.
All right. So it's the final track on Misfits. And so in the preamble, we didn't talk about how we were going to do figure out the discrepancy in tracks here. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So this is track 10, last track off of Misfits. It's Get Up.
Yeah.
And another rocker on Low Budget, it is Misery. Pretty generic rocker.
It sounds like an Elton John rocker to me.
Really? Is there more piano in it? Is that it?
Oh yeah, there's a ton of piano on Misery, even though Gosling has left the band at this point, but they had session guys in. But yeah, it has this kind of the bitches back roll, piano driven rock and roll song. But yeah, did you want me to pick which one I
Yeah,
preferred. Right?
you pick Matt. Sorry,
So
I'm
I
struggling
love
to remember either.
I love Misery. I don't think Misery is forgettable at all. I think it's like arena rock done really well as the piano is like the focal point. However, Get Up is a top 3 song on this album for me. It's got that amazing bass line that goes throughout. It sounds a lot like the Jackson 5's I Want You Back, particularly at the end. It's got that do 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 do. It's got that Michael Jackson, just great funky bass line. The melody behind it is very sing-songy. It's such a triumphant conclusion to the album, because Misfits, the title track, it's a slower mid-tempo song, great way to kick off the album, but man, it's so joyful at the end, track 10, and the way it just runs the course of the song. I love it. I simply love this song. I can't wait to put this song on playlists, because I don't think anybody knows about this song. It just seems like such a dark horse. So as much as I like Misery, I've given it to Get Up.
Mike.
Yeah, Misery, I think, is a great generic rocker. Can't fault it. It moves you. Great guitars in it and everything. And Bitches Back, yeah, I'd go with that. Really good track. But Get Up, I mean, opening chord, Hard Day's Night. You've got that massive chord at the beginning. I can hear Tommy in it, which again is great. But
yes,
one of the things I really hear in it, kind of thing, is early Springsteen, where if you go back Asbury Park, Wild Innocent, with moving pianos and all of it, and I kind of hear early Springsteen and say, which is a great thing, because I love Springsteen. It's for me, Get Up was a real rallying cry. It's a real movement, and it's got a lot more to it than Misery for me. It's just a stronger song, and it's got more things in it to latch onto, kind of thing. So yeah, Get Up for me.
And I'll make it 3 for Get Up. That's kind of where I was feeling with Misery. It's I'm never gonna skip the track when it comes up.
It's a good track.
But Get Up, and that's only my. Well, I guess let's discuss how we're. Well, Matt, go ahead.
Just before I forget, and this might be pointless to talk about the first song at this point, but Mike, you made a great talking point, and I was going to say it on the first track. You talked about how Get Up has the Who vibes, like Tommy type, right? Well, I forgot to mention that Attitude sounds like a ripoff of Who Are You? Have you ever noticed that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can hear it. Yeah.
You can edit that out if you want to later, Jacob. That's just
no, I'm sorry. I was just redoing my math to make sure if anything, I screwed up myself. So, all right. So how are we going to handle Kinks low budget having one more track than Misfits, Matt? And that last track, by the way, is Moving Pictures, one of the better tracks, honestly, on low budget.
Yeah.
Tell us what you figured out.
Well, it wasn't like a clever notion on my part. I just was looking at the CD when we were having our conversations, and the bonus tracks has some alternate versions. It's got an alternate Black Messiah, it's got an alternate Rock and Roll Fantasy, and an alternate Live Life, but there's one extra song on there, and that's the single Father Christmas, which was recorded in the same year, 1978, as Misfits. So we said, well, let's just throw that on as number 11, because it's the unique song of the bonus ones that aren't being redundant. So Father Christmas.
Mike, does your band cover Father Christmas?
We're going to. We've got some big. Funny enough, we've got some big Christmas ones coming up this year, and I hadn't really heard Father Christmas that many times, if I'm honest, because as you say, it's not on any album, and I never had the single, but I've actually got it on eBay now, and it's on its way to me. Got a brilliant cover, but it's classic Ray Davies, isn't it? I mean, Ray Davies could not write Mistletoe and Wine. He can't write Have a Great Christmas. He can't write, Let's All Sing for Santa. He wants to beat Santa Claus up. We don't want no toys. Just give us all the money. It's just classic Ray Davies quirkiness. I mean, only he could write a song like that. Absolutely brilliant.
As I told Matt, I don't know any other Christmas song about mugging Santa, so it gets the edge from me. I think I've put it before. I'm one of those guys who makes quirky Christmas mixtapes. I've heard it before. I don't want to give Moving Pictures short shrift because it's a beautiful song,
Yeah.
but I'm going to give it to Father Christmas.
Yeah. And me.
Yeah,
Matt?
I'm with you totally. Moving Pictures was the other one that I said had kind of that disco beat that goes throughout it.
Right.
It also, to me, really sounds like a Jeff Lynne production. It's got those kind of ELO synthy sounds to it. And, with the disco beat thing, when Jeff Lynne ELO was doing, Don't Let Me Down and stuff like, Don't Bring Me Down, excuse me, around the same time as this, late 70s. So I think that's definitely an homage to Electric Light Orchestra. But yeah, Father Christmas, that might be like my favorite Christmas, non-traditional Christmas song done by a pop group. And the Kinks are a top 3 favorite group for me. So that one
Moving Pictures was a UK single. It didn't get anywhere at all, but it was a UK single. Yeah. Yeah.
Just in case anyone was wondering, it turns out different than I thought. But I'm a low budget fan, like I said. I gave Low Budget 6 and Misfits 5, where Matt and Mike did not disagree on a single track.
Wow. Amazing.
4 for Low Budget, and then it'd be 7 for Misfits.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it sounds like you guys should be co-hosting.
No,
and I'll just go find I won't be able to afford a gallon of gas without all this sweet YouTube money I'm raking in. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining us.
But sorry, could I just say, Jacob, isn't that interesting? So the rankings, which I worked a lot on 5 months ago, I had Misfits at number 10 and Low Budget at number 8. And I said at the time that Misfits I thought was going to be a grower for me because and preparing for this and building up to it, that's absolutely what's happening now. They have completely flipped for me, and I think it's really interesting with the 2 albums because Misfits, when you think about it, as I say, the band was in disarray, that they were leaving, they were getting sacked, all different things. It was recorded in Conk in North London, the Kinks studio. Low Budget is recorded in New York, so at Power Station and Blue Rock. So the Kinks want to get a much bigger rock sound kind of thing. So they go to New York there. You've got a firm band at the time. You've got Jim Rodwell then joins on bass, who's then with the Kinks till the end kind of thing. But for me, it's really funny. Misfits is a much better, it's a warmer, it's a better produced album than Low Budget, although Low Budget was probably a much more settled time, huge studio in New York and all the rest of it. So it's really funny how the two have come out there, I think, But they've certainly for me.
Yeah. And we're going to link to your video at the end of this video so people can check to see your top 25 rankings, even though it sounds like it might be different than what you originally did. And the funny thing about the track versus track experiment, an album could be a more complete work of art, but if the tracks are not as strong or sequenced in a weird order, there's just that weird alchemy where it might not win in our little exercise. Thanks again for joining us, Mike, and we'll be back with more track versus track in a few days. Bye, everyone.